Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving deep into a really fascinating metaphysical system. Think of it as a kind of living engine that governs an entire world right from its very core. We're going to deconstruct what the source material calls the field of Earth.
So, our journey kicks off in this pretty conceptual space, right? A dimension inside what's called the internal titanium chronochrome. And standing right in front of our characters is the gate of Earth, and it is sealed shut. Now, the key to opening it, well, it's not a physical object at all. It's an understanding.
And here it is. This is the key. Not something you can hold, but words, inscribed on a tablet of agate. It's a riddle, a single phrase that basically holds the entire operational logic of the system we're about to unpack. So what does that actually mean? To have the power to bind and to loose? Well, to get the answer, we have to go through the gate and take a look at the model of the world it protects, starting right from the very center.
Okay, let's dive right in. This whole system is powered by a central engine. And understanding this engine, that's the very first step to solving the riddle on that tablet.
So inside the Hall of Earth, you see this huge, rotating orb. And at its heart is a perfect simulation of the world's inner workings. A molten iron core, just spinning like crazy. And that rotation is generating these immense waves of electromagnetic energy that just radiate outwards. Now, here's where we get the metaphysical translation. This physical spinning core, it's described as the heart of the world. And all that electromagnetic energy it's putting out, well, that's interpreted as its love and affection, a fundamental attractive force. And right there, that's the first half of our answer. The love coming from the heart acts as a binding agent. One of the characters, Mitsuki, has this realization that it pulls all the other elements in the world into its orbit, forcing them to move in harmony, in tune with its rhythm. This is the power to bind.
So here's a crucial point. This heart doesn't just create some kind of static field. No, it drives a dynamic, cyclical process. This isn't just about holding things together. It's about constant change and, refinement. To make this whole thing a little easier to grasp, the source uses this really powerful analogy, a family. See, just like in a family or maybe even a high-performing team, the elements inside this system, they experience conflict. And this conflict creates pressure. And that pressure is actually the very mechanism for growth and purification.
Let's just walk through the cycle, okay? First, as all the elements are moving around, conflict starts to build up, which raises the internal pressure. Second, this incredible pressure starts to refine and crystallize the most precious elements, the ones that are most in tune with the heart. Kind of like how pressure creates diamonds, right? Third, the less precious elements, the ones that aren't in harmony, they flee this pressure and break loose. But, and this is so important, fourth, they eventually sink back down to be refined and nourished all over again, rejoining the cycle for renewal.
So how does this whole cycle of pressure and release bring us back to our original riddle? We've seen the binding power of the heart's love, and we've literally seen elements break loose. So now, let's define these forces as the system's actual governing laws.
This is where the riddle gets formalized into these two governing laws. You've got the power to bind, which is all constructive. It's about building civilizations, planting things, and creating laws based on mutual respect. Then you have the power to loose, and that is a purifying force. It's the power to uproot and completely destroy ideas or systems that just aren't in harmony with the core principles of the heart.
And to give this idea a more tangible identity, Mitsuki connects this concept of loosing to a character's purpose. It's not just random destruction, you see. It's targeted, like a destroyer of lies or a bane of darkness. It's basically the system's way of performing corrective surgery, removing whatever is out of tune.
So, we have an engine, we have a process, and we have the laws that govern the whole thing. But what does this system actually produce? What's its output? Well, according to the source material, it's an atmosphere that you can actually feel.
The entire system, the electromagnetic activity, the cycle of elements, it all contributes to forming an atmosphere. And we're not just talking about gases here. Every single terrain or domain generates its own climate, which is really the average expression of the main emotions inside of it.
And these emotions, they manifest in really tangible ways. A domain can have a fortifying atmosphere, like the sun's heat, a liberating one, like the wind, an empathetic one, like a cleansing rain, or even a hopeful one, like the life-sustaining earth itself. The balance of all these virtues is what ultimately sets the climate of a place.
All right, now we can put all the pieces together. By understanding each one of these components, we can finally grasp the full concept of the field of Earth, and of course, understand how that gate is finally unsealed.
So the field of Earth is really the total sum of all its parts. You've got the heart acting as the engine, the cycle of refinement as the process, the two laws of binding and loosing as the operating system, and this emotional atmosphere as the final output. When you put them all together, they form one single, living, interconnected field.
And that brings us to a final, really provocative thought. Yeah, we've been analyzing a metaphysical construct. But what if this isn't just fantasy? What if every system of people, a nation, a company, heck, even a family, has its own field, its own core set of values, its own cycle of conflict and growth, and an emotional atmosphere you can feel the moment you walk in the door? In that context, what does it truly mean to have the power to bind and to loose?